Back for part two. Russ Winter's my guest. Winter Watch. Charles Moscowitz here. We're having all kinds of strange technical problems, but we shall forge forward as best we can. Russ, we were talking about the what I'm calling leftist privilege. I've heard people call it various names: hate speech, black privilege, Jewish privilege, Muslim privilege. In other words,
I kind of call it anti-white civil rights.
I get you. I call it anti-human. I mean, it's anti-freedom.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I mean, an individual in this country, I thought they were supposed to be able to realize their own potential without resorting to.
That's a very fair statement. But I'll tell you, when you get into this identitarian politics, you've got to play defense. And you have to recognize your position and where you are in their angle of attack. And so you can't just completely avoid the idea that you're a white person or some kind of ethnic white or whatever. You're in their crosshairs. That's just the way the game is. It's very, very unfortunate. They even wrote a book about it. I don't know if you ever heard the book "Brown is the New White" by Steve Phillips.
No, I'll check it out.
You want to read something horrific? That's their game plan. That's it. It's just identitarian politics, how we're going to swamp the whites and take control of the country, and then just run this remediation game, redistribution of wealth, and it's almost like an enslavement program. Brown is the new white, and it's basically it's promoted by this Tom Steyer.
Oh yeah, right. He's not running for president. He's a multi-billionaire. I mean, he's all over this sort of stuff. Him and Soros and the entire liberal Eastern Seaboard establishment.
The new governor of California, this Newsom is on board, and so California is going to be the cesspool where this is really going to erupt. I think that's where the Civil War starts, and probably in places like Portland as well, like we were mentioning before. But the guy's got this. The guy is just a total hypocrite. He's an investor. He's a hedge fund guy, and his investments included things like Corrections Corporation of America. He had a $90 million position in prisons that he had to liquidate. At the same time, he's blathering off about all the things you were just mentioning. Just none of the real issues, just identitarian politics. And so there's something really evil about these guys. There's something off. They don't hit the chord right anywhere. They're just constantly and don't underestimate this guy because he's got a lot of money to throw into a campaign organization.
Oh yeah,
and be a kingmaker ultimately.
No, he's already running ads. I saw one the other night on 60 Minutes. I mean, that wasn't cheap. Running for president. He's in the race. And I mean, it's insidious. It's the fact that not only are they pushing race conflict, the race dialectic, and dividing people up based on those categories, but they're racist themselves in terms of expecting people of various races to behave in a certain way and to function in a certain way that they see appropriate. It's I mean, I hope that minorities, people of all races, can wake up and see that this is not an agenda that is in their benefit at all. But yeah, I mean, it's a very ugly.
I don't know what this election's. I have a feeling this election is going to be very ugly along these issues, and we'll be revisiting it and talking about more of these outrages, and people are going to start to wake up. And they're going to start to react, and when they react, then it is going to get nasty because the whites are not going to just sit on their thumbs. I mean, they need to start with hiring a bunch of civil rights attorneys. We're the benefactors of the white rights. Nowhere.
No, I agree with you. It's going to be very ugly, and they're going to grab some flashpoint. There'll be some incident which they're going to hold up and try to claim that. President Trump certainly, and the white people in general who want goose-stepping to the left have something against black people. I mean, this goes back. I mean, this is a tactic. You talked about reparations. They just bring that up every 4 years as a way to try to claim that anyone that's against it, it's like virtue signaling. They're not going to support that. No one really does. But they bring it up because it gives them a chance to say that anyone that's against it is racist. There's something against black people. And every year, every 4 years, you get conservatives who take the bait. I mean, I say just ignore it.
Well, they're starting to take over the streets. Right now they've got this big encampment up there in Portland surrounding the ICE facility. They had this incident in Tacoma where some boomer Antifa was gunned down, supposedly. I mean, who knows? That might be another hoax too. But I mean, it appears as if some guy tried to attack the old guy, 68.
Yeah, and who happened to be black, by the way.
What's that?
The guy was black, the one that was attacked. I mean, by Antifa.
Oh, yeah. And there was a white guy, old boomer white guy.
And then you had this Asian gay reporter who was hit on the back of the head, and he's got brain trauma. As you pointed out, you sent me the video.
Yeah. That's what's
by
going
Antifa.
on.
So, I mean, this is, these are very, very, talking about hate groups. They're not reported by the Southern Poverty Law Center. I don't see anything. Where's the ADL? They're busy, trying to protest the fact that children are crossing the border unaccompanied or in the hands of possible, sex traffickers and being held in detention until they can find a home for them. But they're not saying anything about Antifa or radicals who are really engaging in violence.
Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to make a prediction. I'm going to discuss a little old history to kind of give the context of this, or the template. There's a video, it was on YouTube for a long time, called The Battle of Coburg. And unfortunately, it was a white supremacist video because it said, Adolf Hitler, the last great white man. No. So, of course, they took it down, which is really unfortunate because in a lot of ways, it's a video that everybody should watch. It's very, very historical in terms of what happened in Coburg, Bavaria in October of 1922. And essentially what was happening is the Reds had taken over the town and all over Bavaria, Munich, street fighting constantly. The authorities couldn't control them. And so they picked this Coburg. And I think what happened is that the Prince Charles Edwards, who was the Duke of Saxe Coburg, and the fourth son of Queen Victoria, he was a German, and he was a German nationalist, and he was in Coburg. And I think what he did, and probably some other nationalists, is they raised some money to hire Hitler and 800 of his brown shirts to come in and clean up the town. And they had German Day. So the Reds are just running amok. Hitler shows up in a train with his men. They tell him he can't go into the town. He's flying flags and he's got his band and everything. So he goes into the town, and right away they get into it with the Reds. The Reds attack him. They waited. They waited for the Reds to attack, and they fought him for 2 days and just basically licked their asses. That launched Hitler into the national spotlight.
Right.
It was considered by most Germans that they showed a lot of valor and guts to clean up a bad element. Now, do we want that to happen?
No, of course not. Yeah, I mean, in a way, it makes me think. That's what I think of Portland.
These guys are going to get a bunch of these white veterans together, and they're going to send them in after the Antifa in Portland, and they're going to kick their ass, and then
that's going to be the beginning. Yeah, I mean, that's what they're doing. They've got a stronghold, and everyone's looking the other way and letting them have that. And that could be the beginning of the race war that they dream of. They're trying to trigger. It's a great dialectic, and I think they're trying to do it in time to stop the Trump presidency. I mean, they want to, this is going to be, everyone's going to look at Trump and say, you see, he has something against black people. All his followers do as well. And they're going to ramp up that entire propaganda attack. I mean, it's so predictable. I mean, I don't know if it's going to go that far that it'll be actually a race war. But, the aspect that troubles me about this is that enough people, because of the freedom of our media, are aware of this now and they don't go along with it. I think that even has a lot to do with the fact that we didn't get involved recently in a war against Iran, because enough people know that this is an attempt by the international globalists to embroil the United States in another war based on a false flag. And thus the government didn't do it, whereas in the past they probably would have. I think if Hillary Clinton had been president, missiles would have been flying. We'd be at war right now. But because of the freedom of the media, because of the internet, because of things like YouTube, and the ability of people like you and I in our small way to raise an alarm about this, they didn't do it. And I think the same thing is true with this agenda for race war. There's enough people like you and I doing this small radio program, this small internet show, and many others, that enough people are aware of this, the machinations behind this, to avoid this situation. But yet you have YouTube, of course, now cracking down and removing our programs and harassing us and doing weird stuff to our...
Well, I'll tell you what, I bet if there's another Kohlberg, I'll bet you anything that Tom Sayer and George Soros pay the white
I don't. Troopers. Yeah, I don't doubt that for a minute. In fact, yeah, I mean, my good friend, the late great Dr. Samuel Blumenfeld, did an article which it was not published, unfortunately, but it's brilliant, where he shows very carefully in his great documentary way the fact that the original American Nazi Party, George Lincoln Rockwell, was a communist front, and that he was completely in the employ of the Soviet Union, and he was a leftist, and that this was an attempt to introduce this sort of dialectic into the United States. And of course, once he launched that party with a couple of people sitting in a living room in a suburban Maryland, the media blew it up like it was the biggest thing ever, and front page articles and interviews, which it's very suspicious. Now, today, in this day and age, it would be more difficult to get away with that. But I think that's exactly what's going on here. This is it's nothing more. People, you can see the telltale signs of it, that it's planned opposition.
Yeah, and the thing is a lot of the so-called spokesmen or the alt-right or the white nationalists or whatever you want to call them are very phony people.
Yeah.
They're not adults in the room. They're kind of, rabble rousers, instigators. But you got to call some of this behavior out. I mean, I tell you what, I wish I had a cane, an old man with a cane. I could just administer some whoopings, old-fashioned whoopings to some people.
Yeah, really. Who would be the first people you'd whoop?
Oh, I don't even know where to begin. I need a lot of help, a lot of old guys.
I know, you need a bunch, exactly.
Adults in the room.
Yeah, a couple of old grandfathers.
Yeah,
exactly. And grandmothers to go out and take care of
it. Aren't you in Quincy?
Boston.
Oh, okay. Did you see the video? Quincy. Did you see the video I put up of the white woman being assaulted by a pregnant white woman being assaulted by two blacks outside the Quincy post office that I put up there on the Colin Faraday?
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I missed that.
Well, during this hoopla, an elderly black guy steps in and tries to rescue her.
Mm.
But he was just outmatched, he just couldn't handle these young guys. He's very lucky they didn't knock him out.
Sure. Huh. Well, that's the becoming much more the norm.
Teens, they're just teens, that's all.
Right. Misguided youth. Anyway. So Russ, what's coming up on Winter Watch?
Let's see what we did. You kind of caught me off guard a little bit there.
That's all right.
And my computer's down, so I can't go to my articles.
Oh, okay. Well, then give out the website, how people can reach you and how they can check it out.
Yes, it's winterwatch.net.
Excellent.
And we've dealt with a little bit of the topic that we were discussing today, and I don't know. I was gonna kind of mention one more thing about the Procter & Gamble ad.
Yeah, please.
The guy at the end of the ad, he's going around getting kind of the avoidance look, and then the final scene, this 33-year-old black guy walks in, and he's a judge. So so that's the allegory, that he's a judge. So we did a little research on that. We found out that the average judge usually serves before the bar for 28 years before getting judicial appointments. So that's just using more cartoon world allegories. They just lie all the time, and when you're alert to it, you can see it. But nobody else, a lot of people can't. They think that there actually are 33-year-old judges.
Yeah, that's crazy. And everything is kind of a virtual existence anyways with a lot of people, and the information is now so controlled. Anyway, Russ, but let's do it again soon. Let's do some regular programming. I'm really enjoying the information and enjoying talking to you and what you guys do and what you're doing over at Winter Watch. So keep up the good work.
Yeah, I hope we get the computer working a little better next time.
Yeah, I know. Keep working on that and try to keep them from bugging your system, which is what I think is going on with mine.
Maybe. Yeah.
Anyway, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks. See you, Charles.
All right, Russ. All right.